Chuck Zimmerheld and Mike Minotti.
Hello.
Hi.
Guys, I'm Jeff Grubb from Giant Bomb, and I've been playing Saros. I have not finished Saros, and there's a reason for that. Early on, I wasn't feeling it too much, and now I'm liking it quite a bit more. It is a game that sort of unveils itself slowly, and I also think it does a lot to make itself very approachable, which I don't know if I'm necessarily in the mood for personally from my roguelites these days, but I also do not want to hold it against this game because it's doing a good job of making it like, oh, I can see myself getting to the end of this game, even as it is still quite challenging, which I think is what they're going for, and they definitely pulled it off. So, Saros from Housemarque, follow-up to Returnal. Not a sequel, might as well be, though. Stars Rahul Kohli as the main character. It's got a story based on the Yellow King, or the King of Yellow, King in Yellow.
The King in Yellow, yeah.
The King in Yellow. I read those short stories forever ago. I read them when True Detective came out, and I'm like, what is this all about? And it inspired Cthulhu and all this other stuff. It's famous literary stories. That stuff shows up here for sure. You're on a planet called Carcosa. Like in those short stories, the people who are trying to figure out what's going on here, they go crazy. And I'm not sure how much I'm feeling the story, but we can talk about that. The gameplay here is a run and gun roguelite action shooter with bullet hell elements, with a little bit of Ikaruga thrown in. So your frothing demand is safe here, everybody. It's time to act on that for sure. Yeah. I guess before I get into it too much, do you guys have like basic questions that you want answered about what this is?
Well, I guess first I want to talk to you about Returnal, because I know you and I were both sort of similar. We thought it was okay, didn't super get into it, and a lot of people did. So maybe kind of reiterate what it is didn't really pull you in with Returnal.
Yeah, so I should remind people that I did review Returnal when I was at GamesBeat. I gave it a 3 out of 5, and my reason was I had just played Hades. And so my expectation of what a roguelite could be had been set pretty high. And one of the key things I came away from Hades was, or that I took away from my time with Hades was, boy, a roguelite, even though you're doing the same thing over and over again, can feel very different run to run based on what you collect and how you get your build going. And Returnal just didn't lean into that enough for me, where it's like every run felt very similar, to the point where the action began to feel routine. And I think that's a negative for one of these games. While running around and shooting always felt good in Returnal, and it still did, even as I was playing it and was beginning to feel like it was rote. It not being able to like offer up variety in terms of its builds, I thought held it back. So my expectation with this game was they'll directly sort of address that. And no, not really. This is still very much Returnal in that, yeah, you're going to be running and shooting, and your runs are going to feel like you're running and shooting, even despite no matter what gun you get. And at least that's the guns I've unlocked so far. You know, this one has auto fire, and this one's a hand cannon. This one has auto aim. This one doesn't. This one's a shotgun, so it's good from up close. That's the variety of the build so far. You're always going to want to be dodging enemy attacks unless you have your shields on, which I'll get into here in a second. That's when the Ikaruga stuff comes in. But I'll say that is the stuff that sort of unlocks a new depth here that I'm into, and I'll show that off to you guys here in a little bit. So it didn't address my exact criticisms of Returnal. Instead, it sort of leaned into some of its strengths and did a little bit more in terms of what that game was already doing in a better way, to the point where I'm like, oh, I am liking this more than I liked Returnal. I'm not won over by it. And I definitely, like I said, I'm not necessarily in a mood for a roguelite that sands off all the rough edges. I will say this is the second friendliest roguelite I ever played after Hades 2. Like, they just want to make you feel like you're always progressing. And I'll start the clip here. I'm showing a clip of my first time on a run beating the first boss of the game. So we'll kind of see like how that all like starts here. This is me returning after just getting killed by that boss. And here's Rahul Kohli. I'll be bouncing around a little bit, but I'll show you guys for here to start. The first thing you're going to do is you get back, you got some Lucenite, which is the currency from the game. I will take that to this pool down here and go into the massive skill tree. And this is where one of the things that makes the game very friendly, guys, is you can see those attributes at the top left there. Resilience, command, drive. Drive is how easily you make money when you're out on a run, how much Lucenite you're going to get. Command is how good your attacks are, how much damage they do, and resilience is how good your defense is, how much health you have. Those are the three main characteristics that will determine how survivable and how much damage your character can do. And it's very obvious because if the number's high, it's better. Now, you can build up those numbers on a run by collecting various pickups that boost them, but you primarily, and maybe not primarily, but a key thing here is I'm going to go through that matrix there and select things that will create a new baseline where now when I'm doing a run, I start off and those numbers are like in the 20s when I first start instead of in the single digits.
Sure. Base PlayStation 5 you're playing on?
I'm playing on the base PlayStation 5.
Disgusting.
I find the game... Yes, I'm pathetic. I've been talking to my therapist about it. Been talking to Grok about it. We're going to try to do better in the future, everybody.
The thing I saw immediately on that skill tree is it has like a blocked area where you need to beat this boss that I think you're taking right now, right?
That's a good... Let's go back there real quick. That's a good point.
I'm interested in that, yeah.
Yes, so I like this. So there are sections to this this skill tree here where, yes, you're going to be blocked from continuing unless you get the main thing from the boss, and that's the boss I'm trying to beat. So you're going to be able to basically skill up to a point. Then it's time to beat the boss, and then you get to go in the next section of the world, see what's new there, kind of poke around while getting the currency to skill up even more. And then you're going to stop at that next barrier until you beat that next boss, and then you can move on. I think this is a pretty smart way of keeping people engaged in all of its loops. I was pretty impressed by that as well. It works. So that initial reaction you had there, Chuck, I think it's correct.
So you could do a 0 upgrade run on this boss, potentially, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I think that they are certainly leaning into the idea that people are going to play this game at launch in one way, and that is to see the end. So the structure of a rogue game, a roguelite game in the past is always, I think of Spelunky as sort of the best example that I have. That's one of the ones where I really realized what the genre was doing. Here are the 4 areas of the game you need to get through to get to the end, and on a successful run, you start from the beginning and you go through all 4. Now, you could practice, maybe you could teleport to one of the worlds to practice it, but a run is starting from the beginning, going through all 4 worlds. This game, at least on the initial sort of going through the story, is like, yeah, you beat that first area, now you could teleport to the second area, and that's not practice. This is you progressing through the story. Although, if you want to just run out there and start from the beginning, you can do that because they seem to have these options to cater to all kinds of different ways to play. This includes a system of perks and trials that can make the game easier or more difficult, and that unlocks after you beat the second boss. So it's like they have that stuff ready to go for players who want to make the game more difficult for themselves very early on. This is something we see in a lot of roguelite games. So let's see here. I'll try to explain kind of what's happening in the game as we're running around here. Like Returnal, you're going from node to node in this map. Unlike Returnal, there's not a ton of backtracking. If you move forward, it does often lock you behind. At least that the way I remember Returnal is you could kind of go back and explore the rest of the world if you miss something. In this game, it's like, no, you're going to keep moving forward until you get to the end of one of the paths. Then there will be a teleport to take you back to the beginning part of the stage, because if you wanted to, you could also just go to the boss earlier. It's waiting for you at the beginning. But if you want to, beef your character up, you could go through this entire map, get all the available collectibles, like max out your character, fill in all the slots on your attributes, and then go fight the boss at that point, and they're just going to teleport you back there. So it's like, it's still pretty linear, and I like that as well. It always feels like there's forward momentum. And so the things I'm looking for as I'm going around here are these pillars that are these pickups where I can punch this, and I have an option here to either get +5 to my command or +3 to resilience. Sometimes those upgrades will have negative attributes attached to them. So let's say it'll give me quite a bit of command, but it's going to cause me to do less damage if I'm attacking enemies while standing still. That's one I'll always take because I'm always running around when I'm attacking people. There's others where it's like, oh, this one is going to make the cooldown on your dash ability take longer. That's one I'm very rarely going to take because I dodge all the time. Now, I'll point out one thing. On this run, this is my first run where I actually beat that first boss. I was not using one of the key skills in this game at this point. We'll jump ahead at some point where I will show this off. This is the shield and the absorbing Ikaruga style of the enemy bullets. So let's see if I can see. We might as well just kind of jump forward here and get some.
I've heard this is like the biggest
action.
like difference in the combat from Returnal, right? The shield.
Yes, it is, and it's the kind of thing that really sort of does add that layer of interesting complexity that has begun to really tickle my brain. And I'm like, oh, I am feeling about this game the way I felt about previous Housemarque games and stuff like Sectori, where now there's enough going on that my senses are overwhelmed and I got to just be reacting. There's no time to actually be thinking. You just got to go. So I'll see if I can kind of show off a battle here where some of these enemies are going to be attacking with the different colored bullets. So you could see my ammo counter right in the dead middle of the screen there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can see as I'm shooting, it's getting depleted, and then it goes, and then there's an active reload thing right there. So you just hold down the right trigger to fire. Once it's done, that meter pops up. You can active reload, and it gives you, a small little boost, and you can shoot again faster. Below that is my power meter. This power meter enables me to hold down the left trigger all the way and basically do a magic attack. And the question was, like, how do I regain power? And I couldn't figure this out for a minute. I was looking at the tutorials a little bit, but it seemed like they were going to reveal this actually later, and I was kind of getting a little bit antsy, so I did go read it eventually. And it's like, you need to absorb these blue shots from the enemies, and the way you do that is by activating your shield. And the shield is blue, and if you run into those blue attacks right there, which again, I'm not doing on this run, I don't realize this yet, you can, as long as you're getting enough of them, you can offset the cost of using your shield, which also costs power, and it'll kind of collect them all. You drop your shield, you absorb that power, and it fills up that meter, and now you can do bigger attacks again or use your shield for longer if you want. Now, if you get hit by like the yellow attacks with your shield, the shield will still block that, but it will hurt it a lot faster, and it will also cause some corruption to your health bar, where it's like you won't be able to heal above that point unless you do some more of those big, powerful attacks. It's a lot, but it begins to make sense very fast.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, I like those kind of mechanics. Like, these are the good bullets. Let these ones hit you. You can time it right. It's parry adjacent, dare I say.
Yes, I think it is, and they definitely lean into that, where enemies will have both colored attacks in one pattern, where they'll have a cluster of blue like projectiles at the front of their assault, and then you can hit that, and then you dodge out of the way, and the rest of the line of projectiles are the yellow bad projectiles that you're trying to avoid. So you get into this dance move of like, okay, I could time this out, feel that, get some power, move to the right very quickly with my dodge. All those bullets go past me, and now I can let go of the shield because that's still his main attack. I can throw my powerful attack at the enemy, and then we can start the dance all over again. It works very well.
Can I ask you something I think only I care about?
Please, Mike.
Anymore in the year of our Lord 2026. How's the DualSense stuff?
It's pretty good. So that, you know what, this is a really good question here because it's pretty good except for, do you guys remember how Returnal had its secondary fire mapped to the controller?
No. Remind me.
Okay, so the left trigger, remember how I said you hold down the left trigger to activate your power weapon? What if you only pressed it halfway for the secondary fire? So I've been playing a combination of on my DualSense and on my Steam Deck streaming this, and it is it's quite a bit better on the DualSense because it does that fake click when you're halfway through to know that you're on secondary fire, but not yet on the powerful shot. Now, I still don't love that. I kind of wish everything was just on its own dedicated button, but it works fine enough on the DualSense. And then all of the other like pitter-patters of firing the weapons, of the enemies growling, all that stuff is pretty good. It's not Astrobot good. That's where we are with this stuff, right?
Sure.
So that like half click thing, is that in lieu of like a hold to charge something, essentially?
Yeah, so it's like
Steam Deck?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if like we got. Oh, I mean, it works on Steam Deck where you just hold the left analog, or the left analog trigger just halfway down. You still just kind of have to like feel it, but it just doesn't have. It doesn't have the the feedback that the DualSense is.
The force feedback.
Yes, exactly. So these the blue things here are often just like cheap upgrades. There are the gold pillars, the yellow pillars. Those require a Carcosan key, which is just another pickup you get, but and those ones often, when you do unlock them, will have the negative associations with them, but they'll give you a lot of extra power. The guns are so far very basic, but they will have enough characteristic differences that's like, oh, this one is gonna have the auto aim, so I want this in this situation. But if I pick up this handgun that doesn't have auto aim, but it's much more powerful, so you're kind of weighting those decisions in all these situations. And yeah, this is a combat situation where it's like, yeah, this guy is probably going to do some blue attacks where I could have absorbed power and taken him out a lot quicker. But this is going to be the one of the more powerful basic enemies of. He's got a few extra things that he does in this first world, and overall, not much of a threat. Things don't get too hard in this first world until you get to that boss.
Is the geography randomized at all, or is this like fairly static and it's the contents of it that get randomized?
So yeah, another good question. So yeah, like a roguelite, you go out on that second run, and one of the characters is like, the ground shifts from beneath your feet.
Whoa!
So it is randomized. Very quickly, you're going to recognize the big Lego level pieces that they are stacking together. And you're like, oh, I recognize this. If that thing's over there, that thing's over here, then I'll go through the door, and it's going to be one of a handful of rooms, maybe often one of two rooms that could be connected to that. So it doesn't feel too randomized.
That's impressive considering like how vertical a lot of these levels are. Like interlocking things with verticality is like extremely challenging, and it looks very seamless.
So this is an Eclipse door. We can open this by activating the Eclipse by letting a bunch of hands grope us.
Look at those grabby hands.
Yeah. And this, all relates to the story and stuff. People are going to want to discover some of this stuff to themselves. But I like weird fiction. I like cosmic fiction, and this is definitely leaning into that stuff. I will say it's treading pretty familiar ground of, oh my God, I looked into the eye of the eclipse, and guess what? I went insane.
Sure. Like,
and
it's
the
biodiversity, like, beyond that is like the second kind of biome gonna still echo a lot of this aesthetic. Is there? I
think in the other clip I'm going to show you, we'll get a chance to see that it is much more industrial. So it's the same vibes, but different aesthetic. It is different.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
All right, let's see here. So I went through. So I think this has like two paths that you can go through if you want to fully power up. I go through both. Let's actually do this boss fight. Show you guys that.
I was gonna say, like with eldritch horror like this, it's a really weird intersection between fantasy and science fiction, and it does great in like books and written, and it reads great. And I've always like struggled with like Cthulhu games. Like, what's that recent one, Call of Cthulhu? It just doesn't hit because it's like
Eternal
your character's
Darkness.
Going insane. Believe me,
Eternal Darkness is like one that like had some fun with it, but yeah, it is always weird. You guys can see also my my numbers there, my resilience, my command at the bottom. We started out at like 4 and 5. They're much higher, so you could expect to add like 15 to 25 on top of your numbers at the beginning of the run. So yeah,
look at this big crusty guy.
Had I known I could activate the shield and absorb stuff, I could be charging up my power with all of those very slow moving attacks, right? I just wasn't piecing that together yet. But instead I was like, I'm just getting the basics of how to even activate the damage phase of this boss. You got to shoot the lights on the side of the room here, and then how to dodge things. I've kind of learned you have to dodge through them instead of jumping backwards like I had been here. I had a bad start on this boss. Things come together here in the end.
This looks crazy. Like all those
I mean, this is the bullet hell stuff, right? Exactly, and then it's got the I do think that is a pretty good representation of what you would imagine a crazy person who is being attacked by Cthulhu is seeing in their head, right?
This looks super fun.
Yeah,
I think.
So did the game really not teach you? Did the game really not teach you about the shield mechanic, or is it? No. Did you miss it?
It taught me about the shield. It did not necessarily like link that right into recovering power in that moment. It does slowly dole out all of its complexities. So like even getting through the second boss, they were still introducing more things. Like there's an overcharge. It's very similar to Pragmata's, like click in L3 and R3 and do a big attack. I don't even have that unlocked yet. That's something that I'll get here in a bit. So yeah, they slowly add those things. They re-taught me about the shield after a while, and there's a really good tutorial system built into the menus where you can look that stuff up at any time. Cool. So yeah, this boss, once you get the patterns, actually becomes, I think, very manageable. I think the patterns were fun to learn, and this is when I began to really like the game, because I thought this boss was really fun. And then the second boss was just as fun. And it's like, I think I took 3 to 5 turns, tries on each one of learning the patterns, now learning how to execute, and then going in there and just like getting it right on that 4th or 5th try. I'm like, to me, that's about right for a game like this. It's not going to be the hardest bosses you've ever faced because, again, these patterns are very easy to sort of recognize after a while. There are some games where it's like they're doing patterns, but you have to like really pay attention to see like when they're signifying to you that they're going to do the patterns. That's not this game. Big, colorful lines telling you what angle the next attack is going to come at you at. So I appreciate that.
It's just very pleasing watching you dodge these bullet storms, especially when there's just like a ton of them. I do love that basic idea of third-person shooter bullet hell.
Me too. I think that was always the thing that really made me interested in Returnal. And then they definitely got that stuff. They continue that, and I think they run with it and make it even better here. Because I mean, that Ikaruga stuff is going to make a big difference.
Yeah. These games engage so many of your like senses while you're playing them because just like the spatial awareness, jumping over things, but also you have like a point you're locked onto because you're trying to do damage to the boss, right? But then like I love that, just like engaging everything you've got on like especially like a tough boss fight.
Right. And that's it's worth pointing out. Like, yeah, I do have a lock-on weapon that just aims for me, and I was getting really used to that. And then after this boss fight, they began introducing weapons that don't lock on. I'm like, oh, what the hell? I got used to that. Now I have to like remember to aim. And it's like they're probably right to do that because they don't want to overwhelm people too much at the beginning. But I'm like, had I been used to that, I would have been like, oh, more ready for it. But I got used to it after like 10 minutes. It was fine. And now I often do pick up those weapons because it does feel good to aim in these games as well as doing all the other things that you're managing. And they're often more powerful. See, I dodged it that time. And then he puts up the bumpers on the side. So now I'm stuck in the middle here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
This activates so much of my old World of Warcraft rating senses, actually. All the phases and the escalation, and so much of it is a dance, basically.
I like how they're communicating it to you as well, because like at the start of the boss fight, the 3 health bars, it's like, okay, like it's very obviously communicating like stuff's going to change every time you go. I think when you hit the second one, like the health bar had like a stripe pattern over it. Was that like you couldn't damage it until you killed everything? What was that?
Yes, so that was right. He closes up, and then there's these lights on the side. You could see them very briefly there. And I just beat him. But yes, there's these like little lights that protrude on the side. You got to shoot those out. And then that puts it back into a damage phase again. Exactly. All right. Let's see here. That
was definitely the part that's like, oh, I want to play this game, was watching you do that boss fight.
Mike, it's the thing that it's the part that made me think I should tell Mike that the bosses are good in this game because I like it. I think you're really going to like these bosses. Yes.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
So I think this is the clip. It's the longer one right here where I'm like, okay, I figured this out, and I actually start actively using the shield. And this is the second biome. Yes.
This is very like there was a bit of a Doom vibe before. Now this looks like real extreme Eternal here. You know.
I believe this is right. If not, I'll have some other clips where I actually do it.
Particle effects going off are wild.
Yes, and that stuff looks fantastic, and it's that's another thing that tickles your brain, right? Where it's this industrial thing, and then all these bright neon colors shooting around. Yeah, it's good stuff. Let's see here.
The way he like walked around in that first environment, it kind of looked flat. He looked kind of goofy, but now that there's like more like shading and shadows and stuff like that, it looks less.
Yeah, look, you go. You're absorbing.
Yeah, so I'm absorbing, and I let go, and then you saw those things flying to me, and then I immediately shot a powerful attack at him. So I used my energy as soon as I did that, and now I'm going to recharge some more. I'm going to try to get in there. Those big attacks are like, that's free money right there.
Eat it.
Free real estate.
Does that rumble your controller when you catch those?
Oh, you bet your ass it does, and it feels real good.
It's rumbling my tummy like Woody the fucking Pooh right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yummy. This feels awesome. Especially during the second boss fight where I was like, oh, look at, there's these attacks the second boss does where it's these big walls of projectiles, but the center cone of the projectile wall is blue. So I got to jump through that one with the shield, and then the second attack of that phase will be, the middle is yellow now, and the big wall is blue. So move to the side, now jump into the wall, then go back in the middle and jump through the cone again. it's really smart stuff. It feels very, very good. And I was just like, oh yeah, the bosses were already good. I was already having fun. Excuse me. Like just dodging attacks, moving around, and then to throw this layer of like, now let's find reasons to like position myself for an attack that I know is going to have a lot of blue. All right, now that's one more thing I can think about, and it kept me that much more engaged. And it's when the game really sings. Absolutely. All right, do you guys have any other questions about Saros?
So wait, you
But
said
Grubb, what about the story?
Yeah, I guess
Sorry,
that's
Mike.
right. Because no, you're right to bring that up because that's something I see some divisiveness about, perhaps.
Yeah, I'll say that I'm not like super won over by the story. The thing I take away from it is that the characterization of Rahul Kohli's character is very flat, and he's like he's there to complete the mission. That's what he cares about. There are some colonists on this planet, and he's like, I'm going to save the colonists. And all the other people that are part of his crew are all just going various levels of insane because of Carcosa. And he's like, no, I'm the one who still cares. And I'm like, yeah, but why do we care? And like, obviously, all these people have probably been here for hundreds of years. Time is an illusion on this planet. Give me something to hold on to. And he's like, but I got to complete the mission. Now, this is early on. I bet things change. I'm probably halfway through this game. I'm not engaged by the story. I'm not engaged by the performances. I'm a little bit surprised by people who are, but teach their own for sure. It's not like it's performed poorly. It's not. It's done well. I think I just might have been like, I've had my King in Yellow phase where I did read that stuff because of True Detective, and it's not like wowing me the way it once did.
You said you're not ready to review it. Can I ask, like, how much of it have you played? Do you feel like you are sort of close to seeing credits or whatever the equivalent is here?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit over halfway through, based on like the portals that you can, the teleport things you can jump through back at the home base. But I've also like picked up pace as well. Early on, it was I would finish a run, and I would say to myself, I should do another one, and I just don't want to. I just do not feel the pull. And then got those two bosses down, and I'm like, okay, I could see the progression now. I know how to learn these stages. I know how to like go explore them, what they expect of me, and I know that probably a pretty cool boss fight's going to be waiting for me at the end of that. And then on top of that, I'll be able to take what I get from that boss and go back to the skill tree and unlock the next part of the skill tree. So there's all these things now pulling on me, and I'm definitely like feeling it in a much bigger way than I was early on. Now, I mean, I'm like in the 4-star range right now, where it's like, yeah, this is a straight up good game that I really, really like. So yeah, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to beat this game for sure.
Review in progress, right?
Yeah, review in progress. That's not a final score in
Review
any
in
way.
proggies.
Yep,
Review in
exactly.
proggies, yeah.
that's what we call it. Yeah, I'm into it. I think, yeah, I like it. For me, I'm always going to be someone that does prefer like just boil this stuff down to its basis form and give me a sectory. That's who I am. But I'm also happy to check these games out and be like, oh, this is doing even more. And maybe some of that, let's make it feel like a big game so we can charge $70, whatever it is for it. So let's add, a famous actor, and let's add a bunch of story on top. I don't hate that stuff, and it doesn't really get in the way for the most part. So it's like, I'm not going to like hold that against Saros in any way. It's just like, oh, this thing's doing some stuff that I wouldn't do, and that's not necessarily what I come to these roguelites for. But when it is in its element, when it is like doing all the stuff in the gameplay that it can do, it's like, oh, this is one of the better action games you could be playing right now.
Cool beans.
Fantastic. I'm excited for this now. I hadn't seen any gameplay before this, so I'm feasting. This is good.
I think this is going to be one that I think a lot of people on the team are going to like this one. So I'm looking forward to see what everyone else thinks. All right, that's Saros. It's out. I think they're doing early access for this one. I think that's on Monday, probably when this will go up, April 27th. But yeah, by April 27th, this game will be out for people who have early access, and then I think it's April 30th. It's out for everyone. So people should go check it out. I'm a fan. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.